Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday and welcome back to FemmeTarot. I'm Natalie, your international psychic medium and energy reader and healer. And over here, we don't do vague, we don't do fluff, we cut straight to the truth. How is everybody doing after this week? I mean, every week has been I don't know how to, I can't even find the word. I can't even find the word. But how is everybody doing? I hope everyone is holding up. Also, we're just going through this retrograde shadow period right now. So this is going to be a very interesting month. I also want before we start with this reading, and the reason why I decided to do this reading is because I got several suggestions from you who wanted me to look into the Sodder family and the missing Sodder children. Also, it's Halloween weekend, and we haven't really celebrated Halloween. I did go live on Friday and talked about Three Eye Atlas, as well as what is going on in the White House. What is up with this ballroom? Because my feeling and my intuition was like, this is not a ballroom. So if you want to find out what's behind all this and whether the Three Eye Atlas is a UFO, a UAP, a mothership, a comet, something else, you'll have to watch that video. But very, very interesting stuff came up for both. All right, but we didn't really do a Halloween thing, so I thought this is more Halloween-y, I guess. It is true crime. It is about missing children that went missing, or did they, back in 1945. But stick around because towards the end of this life, I'm going to do something else as well. Sticking to the theme of missing children, I want to look into a more recent case. And this is the case of Lily and Jack Sullivan. These are two siblings that went missing in Canada back in May, I believe, or in April. So a few months ago. So I did a I connected to the children back in May. So a few weeks after they went missing. I will play the video later on what I said then. This was during a live because someone asked me. And of course, when we have missing children, I always want to prioritize that and see if I can connect to something and pick up any information that might help the investigation, it might help the family. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to play you that video. It's a short video of what I said back in May. And then I'm going to reconnect now and see if I can get some more information. What are the kids okay? Are they alive? Are they with us? What's going on? So yes, stick around for this whole live. So how is everyone doing? As per usual, I want to say hello to the Femme Village, the chat that is always here on Sundays. I love you guys. I really do. I always look forward to these Sunday lives. Just want to say quick hello to everybody. Moipan, I know. There was another terror attack in the UK, this time on a train. Funnily enough is the wrong word or the wrong saying, but strangely enough, remember that I've been telling you for the past few weeks that I've received some downloads. And I was waiting to put everything, all these predictions, everything that I got on one video. Otherwise, they kind of like get lost in different lives, etc. And I'm going to do one towards the end of the year with everything that I got for 2026. And one of these downloads that I got was, well, I did see a train. I did write it down. Where's my paper? Somewhere here. I've written it on my notebook anyways. And I wrote, there are going to be two tragic events that are going to happen involving trains. One, I saw one in Asia, Malaysia or Philippines. I wasn't sure which country, and the other one was in the UK. And unfortunately, it happened. Stabbings, this was horrible, absolutely horrible. I can only imagine the panic of the passengers on board the train, all of that. It's just horrible. But unfortunately, this is something that I was shown by Spirit, and I've shared with you all that the situation in the UK is going to get worse. The social unrest, terrorist attacks, knife attacks, acid attacks. I just see it all. And unfortunately, it's really ramping up and it's happening. So if you're watching from the UK and you're living in the UK, please be vigilant and please be careful, because things, especially in the next couple of months, are really ramping up. And I do see more of such events happening. Unfortunately, sadly, and this is such a horrible way to start this live, but I do have to share with you, all of you, what I get. The other thing I got is I saw a, which is quite rare in the UK, but I did see a pew pewing near or in a school. Don't want to panic anyone. Okay, it's I wasn't given anything more about that. I don't know when this could happen, anytime soon. This could happen next year. No idea. But the best advice I can give everyone is just be vigilant. The other thing that something that I do is, for instance, I've shared this before, I do Krav Maga. My son also, we had signed him up for Krav Maga because he was being very bullied at school. So we wanted to help build his self-confidence, because he also has ADHD, and children with ADHD do have a low self-esteem. It's because their minds are so busy, and they're so smart as well. And the other reason was because we wanted him to learn how to defend himself in a safe way, I guess. I don't know what's the better term of saying it or how to explain it, but to defend himself without really harming others. Um, and just also for him to understand what his boundaries are, and how he should react when someone really oversteps his boundaries and his space. I don't know, you guys. I don't know. I wish I had a magic wand and to change everything that's going on in the world. But one thing that I did share on Friday's live is that because there is a spiritual warfare going on right now, and the energies are super potent and super dark right now. So, what we can do is really raise our vibrations and change the collective energy, because we are all one, we're all united. The law of oneness, we're all connected. We're all part of each other. So if the majority of us does this work and we are able to raise this vibration, we can change what is happening in the world right now. And how do we do that? Dance, sing, be kind, help others. Try not to argue with others. Ground yourself. A lot of grounding. Do a lot of grounding every day. Start your day by doing grounding exercises. Do some light meditation. Bring that energy, recenter that energy, focus. Focus on you. Bring that energy inwards as well. That is how you get your power back. Because what is happening right now is light versus darkness, and light is fighting to get its power back. We're the light here. So we've got to really rise above everything that's happening and try to keep centered, cool, and do everything that we can to bring positivity, good vibrations, kindness, support others, anything that we can. That's all we can do right now. All we can do. But we got this. We got this. I get more into this on Friday's video. So you can head on over there and watch that after this live, because I don't want to keep repeating myself, because a lot of you were there on Friday. I have watched the video, so I don't want to keep repeating myself. And because we have to look into these two mysteries involving children. Let's focus on that. All right. So Allison says she's excited for this one. Anna hasn't heard of them. I will give you a little bit of a short summary of what happened. Happy Sunday to you too, Allison. Happy Sunday to all of you beautiful people. Beautiful, beautiful, soulful people. Happy November. It is November. Where does time go? Hello, hello, Aqua Guy. All right, everybody. It's so good to see you. And before we start, a quick reminder, you guys know what to do by now, and it's this. Like this video, do comment down below if you are part of the replay crew, and if you're new here, do consider subscribing. I don't think you're going to regret it. You're in a good place right here. So much content coming out here. We do these amazing lives as well, and you connect with soulful and like-minded people as well. This is a beautiful community that we love, and we love hanging out together. All right, let's get to it. All right, let me just say about the Sodder children. Let me give you a little bit of a summary with a story. It's a little bit bizarre, but I did get a little bit of clarity while I was meditating before I started this live. But the interesting thing is, I tried connecting to the 5 children that have been missing since 1945. And I couldn't connect except with one. Let me get into it though. So back on the 24th of December, so Christmas Eve of 1945, the Sodder family, this was George Sodder and Jenny Sodder, who was the dad, and the mom, who had 10 children. They celebrated Christmas or Christmas Eve. They opened their presents. It was a nice, beautiful Christmas Eve evening. The parents went to bed earlier than some of the kids because some of the kids wanted to play with some of their new toys. They were very excited. The older children had to care for the farm animals. I believe they had cows and other farm animals. So it was one of their chores, all right, to go feed the animals, make sure they're in their sheds, and then lock up, and then they were supposed to go to bed. But at about 12:30 a.m., Jenny Sodder, the mom, she was woken up because her phone was ringing. Someone was calling her in the middle of the night. So she went to pick up the phone, and she heard a drunken woman. There was commotion in the background. This woman asked to speak to someone. Jenny said, "You got the wrong number." That was it. She went back to sleep. She didn't check on the kids, or no, she didn't check on the kids who were sleeping on the first floor in the attic. But what she did was she had to pass through the living room where some of the other kids were sleeping or fell asleep. And she noticed that the curtains were drawn open and the window was open too. And that was unusual because usually the older kids, the ones who, after they tended to the animals, the farm animals, they would come in and they would lock up and close the windows, etc. And then she went back to bed. But she was awoken. I believe half an hour, 1 hour later, we don't know, because she heard something. They had a tin roof. So she heard something. Either it was thrown on the tin roof or something fell on the tin roof. And that woke her up. And within a few minutes, she realized, I don't know how, maybe she smelled it, or one of her, I believe her daughter, was sleeping in the living room, alerted her to smoke and fire. So the house was on fire. Jenny and George, with their youngest, managed to get out. Their daughter as well, and the kids that were sleeping on the ground floor, I believe, or the ground level of the house, they all got out. But then they realized that the other 5 children that were asleep at the on the first floor and the attic, they were nowhere to be seen. They hadn't left the house. They hadn't exited the house. So the father, George Sodder, sent one of his older sons in to call for the children. The son claimed that he did. He didn't hear anything, but because the house was completely on fire, he ran out again. And then George Sodder, the dad, tried to find a ladder. They had a ladder somewhere outside the house to try to climb up through the window and try to save the children. But he couldn't find the ladder. It was nowhere to be found. And it was supposed to be at a specific spot. It wasn't there. So there was no way for them to reach the children, to scream at the children, to get the children out, help the children, or even see if the children were asleep or were in the room. That's the story in a nutshell. But a lot of things came up after, because first of all, one of the daughters ran to the neighbors who were living down the road because their phone was out of order. They couldn't call the fire department. She called the fire department, but the chief of fire of the fire department said that he couldn't drive the truck or something like that, so he couldn't get to them. That was a little bit also odd. The other thing that was odd was the ladder. Why was the ladder where it was supposed to be? Then once the next day when they put out the fire, they didn't find any remains of those 5 children, the ones that were trapped or supposedly or allegedly trapped in the house. They didn't find anything. Now, what is interesting is that books survived the fire, several household items survived the fire, kitchen appliances, etc., survived the fire, but no remains, no human remains, nothing to indicate that the children perished in that fire. That was odd. Which is why it's considered one of the biggest mysteries as well. What happened to those children? Now, a lot of theories are sort of floating around. The main one, and this comes from the parents, the Sodders, where they claim that they believe that the fire was intentional. It was arson. It was done by the Italian mafia because they were of Italian descent. And when George Sodder moved to the US, apparently he moved to the US to get away from the Italian Sicilian mafia because he was really going against them and speaking out against the mafia and the corruption and what they were doing to his city and his country. So his belief and his theory has always been that he believes that this was arson, that the mafia had targeted him. Also, because I forgot to mention that a few days before Christmas, some kind of salesperson knocked on Jenny's door. She opened the door. He was behaving very oddly. He knew some information about the family that back then, they didn't have internet, they didn't have phones, they didn't have the information that we did. And this was during the war, by the way. This was 1945. So very interesting story. And George, to the day he basically died, he believed that the mafia did this and that the mafia kidnapped their children, because years later, apparently there were sightings of a little girl at a school. They saw this in an article from a New York newspaper where they wrote some kind of article about the school, and they took pictures of the classroom, and one of the little girls in that picture resembled very, very much with one of their own missing children. And then someone anonymously sent them a letter. This was a couple of years. I'm not sure. The timeline's a bit, I may be wrong with the timeline, but someone after all this sent them an anonymous envelope, and inside was the picture of no, this wasn't 2 years ago, because that one of the children was supposed to be 30. So this was years after the fire. And inside the envelope, there was the picture of a boy, Louis, supposedly Louis, one of their children that perished in the fire. And this was Louis as a 30-year-old. So what he looked like at the time. And the parents both agreed that young man pretty much looked like Louis and what Louis would look like if he was 30 years old. So, very interesting case. I want to say I did try to connect the children, or at least one of the children, to see if I can channel and see what they have to say. I couldn't find them. I couldn't reach them, but I kept hearing Martha's name. Martha is one of the children that perished, or did they, in that fire. Before we start, I want to bring this up. Here are the children. So we have Morris, 14 years old, Martha Lee, who was 12 at the time, Louis, 10 years old at the time, Jenny was 8, and Betty, who was 5. These are the beautiful children that went missing, which is incredibly sad. Oh, I like that. Yeah, you can see the chatter as well. Also, you guys, do you prefer this? Because StreamYard, so I actually complained to StreamYard and I said, this is way too small. So they did, I'm sure I'm not the only one. So they try to make it a little bit bigger. Do you prefer this on your screen, especially for those of you watching from your TV? Do you want to have the chat like this, or do you want it like it was before? Let me know. I'll keep it on for a while until you guys tell me what's more visually pleasing for you, I guess. Is it like this or how it was before? All right. So, but I kept hearing Martha's name and I really could not connect the children, which I found it odd because we're talking about this happened 75, 80 years ago. I can't talk today. I don't know what's wrong. I'm like, oh. Okay, Danny says like before. I agree. I just wanted to see if you guys agree with me. Oh, Anne-Marie does it. Yeah, that's one way of doing it as well. Okay, everyone agrees that it's better this way instead of having the chat on the screen. Okay, perfect. All right, so what I want to do now is I do want to connect. I will do this live, right? I will try again connecting to see if I can get anyone through. If it's George, the children, anyone who can give me some information. I want to say this, though. I'll start off by saying this. It wasn't an accidental fire. I do believe this was 100% intentional. I saw it. I did see a car driving by and throwing something at the house, landed on the roof. It looks like, I don't know, it looks round. Okay, I'm not sure what it was, but it looked round. They threw that, and this kind of like rolled down, and it fell, but the house caught fire. That's what I saw. I didn't see all of the details, but this wasn't because of the wiring. This wasn't because of a electrical fuse. I literally saw that this was intentional. There was a car that drove by, and I did see two men that were both wearing hats. You know, the hats that they wore at the time. But let's see what else I get. I keep hearing Martha's name. Martha she was 12 years old at the time. Let's see. Interesting. Because I heard, okay. Okay. So what I heard is 3 out of those 5 children, we're getting somewhere. 3 out of those 5 children are no longer with us. They passed. But 2 are. They're alive. So what that tells me is 2 things, and I'll see what I am getting as well. Either someone kidnapped them, they never went to bed, they never reached their rooms and went to bed. When they were out doing errands, you know, tending or feeding the animals, they were kidnapped, they were grabbed, or 2 of the children survived and 3 didn't. Let's see, it's confusing. I know it's confusing for me too. I'm just telling you everything that I'm getting, and we will make sense of this together. Let's see, hold on. So 2 of the children, which are the 2? Martha has passed because she's the one I can hear her faintly. I can hear her faintly. She hasn't come forward, but I can hear her. So Martha passed. The younger one passed to Betty and Louie. And Louie. Those are the 3 children that passed. So we have the 2 remaining are Morris and Jenny. My guide said that the Louie, the picture of Louie that they sent the parents, or who was supposed to be Louie, they said it was to taunt the parents. I'm asking if it was the mafia, if it was whoever is responsible for this. And my guides are saying, no, this is some kind of like prank hoax, some kind of like sick hoax, right? Just to confuse the parents. But that wasn't Louis, I'm hearing. So it wasn't Louis in that picture, 30-year-old Louis. Uh, thank you. Thank you, that aqua guy. Yeah, I forgot. Thank you. Let's see. Interesting. I just heard that Jenny, because that's the one surviving girl, because I heard the girl is living in Europe, somewhere in Europe. Jenny is living somewhere in Europe. She's older now. She has health issues. Does she remember? Does she remember? Does she know? Why didn't she come forward? What is going on? Hold on. Interesting. So, mom, also called Jenny. Okay, I don't believe this has been made public. But what I got is back in the 70s, in the 1970s, Jenny kept getting, because I believe George passed in the 60s at some point. But what my guides are telling me and showing me is back in the 70s, Jenny kept getting, someone kept calling her. Every time she would pick up, they would hang up. This was going on for months, but they wouldn't talk. They wouldn't, there was nothing, as soon as she would say hello, sh they wouldn't hang up straight away. She could hear a little bit of a light, someone breathing on the other side, and then they would hang up. Now, I'm getting that this was Jenny, her daughter. But why wasn't she talking? Why wasn't she saying, "Hey, mom, I'm alive. I'm here." This is so bizarre. I keep getting that those children, all right, okay, okay, things are getting clearer now. All right, so I am getting that there was a man in the house who managed to get in the house from some kind of back window, from the back of the house while they were all celebrating Christmas Eve, opening gifts, eating, the whole family. I see someone sneaked in, all right, and hid upstairs. Upstairs. The reason why was, but then he left. What did he leave? It feels like someone sneaked in, went upstairs, and left something in one of the rooms. I don't know what that is. And then they left again. So one of the two people in the car who threw whatever they threw on the house or at the house, that was one of them. One of them was there because I see the car parked in some kind in there's distance, like, so how I'm seeing the back of the house, like I see trees, but there's also like that, like a dirt road, but this is a very quiet, very remote area. I don't see other homes around or anything else around, but there's a dirt road, and I see that car parked or waiting behind the house on that dirt road. And I believe I'm seeing that car being parked there after whatever they threw. Why though? Why wouldn't they leave, right? Why wouldn't they throw whatever it was they threw? It almost feels like a hand grenade. It's like, again, it's round, but I want to say like a hand grenade or something similar to that. Why didn't they leave? So what were they waiting for while the house was on fire? Were they waiting to make sure that the house burned down and that no one survived? Or was it because they wanted to find the opportunity to get to the kids, or they had the kids already? I don't know. I'm asking these questions. I'm thinking out loud, right? And I'm trying to see what I'm getting. I'll get to your questions in a minute. Hold off and because I need to focus on what I'm receiving rather than the chat. And then you can ask me anything. Let me see what else I'm getting. I'm trying to make sense of all this and clear things up a little bit because it's so foggy. Hold on. No, so they weren't. So I asked, were those kids taken all together somewhere? Like, what is it? And I heard no, no. Some of them were taken to, I get two children were put in an orphanage. Why? Why? And I'm hearing foreign language, not Italian, not Italian. I'm not hearing Italian, but I am hearing not English. It's very muffled, so I can't tell what language it is. I don't know, because there was the war back then. So it was, yeah, I mean, the war was ending, but I mean, the world was upside down. Um, so it's really interesting. Did they take them to some kind of orphanage where there were like nuns or nurses or caregivers there that were not English, that were not American? Seems so. It seems so. I keep getting Hungarian. I keep getting Hungarian. Okay. So could have been a Hungarian orphanage or run by Hungarians. Don't know. But they were separated. The kids were separated. This is my point here. The kids were separated. Oh, it's so interesting. I don't know why, but one of the boys don't know which one, Morris or Louis, were I see them in the army. Like I see them wearing, their military outfit. Like they like I keep getting army, but not as obviously not as children, but fast forward. It's confusing. I know. I'm sorry if I'm confusing you. I'm just as confused. Let's hold on. Let me just ask different questions. Let me ask different questions and see if I can get some clarity here. 100%, I can tell you 100%. Those children, the 5 children, did not perish in that fire. They did not die in that house. They didn't. They didn't. I'm adamant about that. They didn't. They didn't. But where did they take them? Who took them? Why did they take them? I tell you, 2 in an orphanage. I see them in an orphanage, but this is a couple of years after this happened. The one of the children actually, I see, back then when they did the electric shock for people who had psychosis, depression, or any kind of mental health illness. You know how they would shock the brain? Supposedly that would help them. Well, one of the children, this is what I'm seeing in that hospital slash orphanage. And I'm calling it a hospital because I do also see nurses around. Hmm. Interesting. Let's see what Martha is saying. I can hear her faintly, but I'm really interested to see if I can connect, if I can make this connection a little bit stronger here. Martha, please come forward. Please tell us what happened. Where were you? What's going on? She said, oh, okay. I'm connecting. It's very faint, so I hope it lasts. So, what I'm getting, she said, oh, okay, I've got goosebumps. I've gone cold. So she's saying they were in the house when the fire started because of the smoke. They couldn't breathe because of the smoke. The house was heating up. The tin roof it was awful. It was hell, she says, because he was sleeping in the attic and it got so hot so fast. Like the hottest room and the hottest area of the house were the top levels, right? Anything under the roof. There was a lot of smoke, a lot of confusion, scrambling, trying to find her siblings in the smoke, in the darkness, in the chaos. They couldn't hear. The fire was so loud. Anything that was burning, she says there was like a very eerie, like loud humming noise that was coming from the smoke and the fire. And it's all you could hear. You couldn't hear anything else. Even if someone was screaming from like the lower levels, that you wouldn't be able to hear them. Because I'm picking up the panic. I'm feeling like the heavy breathing. Everything's so dark, it's smoky. They're inhaling now ash and stuff, trying to find the door to climb down, but no, they couldn't because then it's lights out. She says lights out, like she just lost consciousness. I'm not shown her siblings around her, so I don't know where they are, but she's showing me what she felt those last few moments, and then there's lights out. I keep hearing Lewis, like his name is not Louis. I've been mispronouncing Lewis, actually. I've been saying it wrong. They corrected me. Keep hearing Lewis. Why did they so she was the okay, so Martha was in the room with the younger one, with Betty, and the boys were all out. So they weren't even there when this all happened. It was just the 2 girls. The boys weren't there. They never entered the house. The boys never entered the house. And now I'm being shown that they were taken. They were taken. They were gagged and taken. Wow. It was dark outside as well. They didn't have street lighting and stuff like that. This was a very, very rural area, so everything looks dark. They just have they had these, like, gas lanterns or gas lamps to see where they were going and what they were doing. They were grabbed, you guys. They were grabbed. It feels like an ambush of some kind, or like that, because I'm getting that they were grabbed, stuck in this, like, put in this. It's not even a car, and I want to explain this. Now the car is even more clear to me. It's not like a typical car. It's like a truck. What trucks looked like at the time, the 2 seats in the back, and then you have the thing. And there was a cover. They had like a makeshift cover for that truck, for the back of the truck, and they shoved them in there, and then they just, like, covered it. And they were they were really hanging out on that dirt road in the back for quite some. This sounds very sadistic, actually. Um, Martha, that's the thing. I keep asking Martha because I have Martha, but I keep asking her, okay, so lights out, you don't remember what happened, but what happened after? Like, how did you get out of the house? Did you die in the house? How come no one found anything? Hold on, she's saying something. She said she passed out, but then she regained her consciousness, but she wasn't in the house anymore. When she regained consciousness, she inhaled so much smoke that, and she was somewhere where she couldn't, she was alone in some kind of room, but it doesn't look like a room. It's not even a room. It's not like a house in a house. It looks more like, how can I say this? Like, an abandoned industrial place. And she was there alone. I do see she is covered. She's wearing a blanket. So someone gave her a blanket, because I see her covered in a blanket and just sitting there, shivering, all alone and scared. She also ended up. She ended up. She ended up with. It's not an orphanage. So okay, so this is not an orphanage, but she ended up in a family with a lot of kids as well. A very poor, I wanna say very poor family, because it's like the house looks like a derelict, it looks like more like a hut, there are tons of children around, cats, animals, it's filthy, and she says she ended up they adopted her, like, she lived with these people, very abusive towards each other and the children, and she had to do a lot of manual work, labor around, They even tried prostituting her at some point for her to start to bring money in. But she said she ran away or she escaped. She ran away, but this is later in life. This was far away from where her parents lived or where she was from, where they lived. She keeps she keeps pointing towards like Mexico. So like she's saying like south, like I don't know if this was like on the border to Mexico or Mexico, San Antonio. I don't know. I don't know. But she's like close to Mexico. She's just pointing towards there. Too afraid. She says too afraid, too afraid, too scared to. I mean, there was no way for her to reach out to her parents. Again, back then they didn't have mobile phones, they didn't have the internet, they had landlines, the house burned down, she had no idea how to contact her parents, and she was too afraid, she said, to go to the authorities. She's saying this was, after the war. When the war ended, it was so chaotic, everyone was trying to basically rebuild, the economy was had plummeted, it was just situation was awful, and she says she was in survival mode, so she wasn't even her frame of mind wasn't even to find her parents or go to the authority. It was really the survival of the fittest. She had to survive. I'm asking her if she can give me some information about her siblings, like what happened. So we know two kids ended up in some kind of orphanage, hospital slash orphanage slash torture chamber. Um, and one of the boys, I tell you, I see one of the boys. I see one wearing being in the army, but he died quite young though. He passed quite young, like mid 20s, 20s. Um, the sad part, you guys, is that the youngest, Betty, who was 5, according to Martha, what Martha's telling me is like she's the first one who passed. She also had some kind congenital heart disease that wasn't diagnosed back then, again, resources, things very tough at the time. And she eventually died because of her heart gave in, so um died young too. Okay, so the good thing, the what's positive here and what makes me happy is that they reunited with their parents when their parents passed. George was the first one to cross over and pass, and oh, he rejoiced. I mean, it was his mission. Both parents were really haunted by what happened and wanting to find answers, and they both intuitively knew that their children were alive. This was no conspiracy theory. They knew intuitively, and they had dreams, and they knew what had happened. They knew that they were targeted. They knew that those children, the children were taken. They didn't perish in the house. They knew this. They absolutely did, and which is why they spent so much time, money, resources, and energy trying to find answers. And they kept getting dead ends. And it is unfortunate because it feels that if this had happened, let's say post-war or a few years later, I believe that they would have been able to at least solve the case, or the truth would have come out. And I do believe that at least some of the children would be able to be found and return to their family members, but there were lack of resources, war, the police was busy, the authorities were busy with so many other things. Um, a lot of men were out fighting the war, coming back from the war. It was just, and this is what I'm hearing. It was just so bad. And yes, George was completely a target because George was very outspoken, even from America, even though he had his own business, I'm hearing, and he was successful and all that. He wouldn't stop talking and slagging pretty much the political system and what was happening in Italy because of Mussolini, I'm hearing, because of Mussolini, the dictator back then. And he just was so outspoken against Mussolini and against the mafia and against everything that was happening in his country, the about the war, about all of that. And he just unfortunately became a target. He was hated. They just wanted him to stop and shut up and just get rid of him. Why? Because they could. Simple as that. Also, they did try. They listen, the whole point of this I'm hearing was like they didn't think that the family would survive. And if George and Jenny, especially George, hadn't survived, they would have taken his business. They would have taken over his, just like in true mafia style, right? They would have taken over his money, his assets, and his business. This was the whole the plan behind this. As for the children, it was because they were watching from behind the house and they saw or heard that half of the family made it out alive. The children, unfortunately, were collateral damage. Oh, Lord, this is so heavy. Who Anais says they were in Mexico. Who was in Mexico? The kids were in Mexico. I'm definitely hearing on the borders or in Mexico. Eventually, that's where they ended up. Um, that's why on Bulgaria, you think maybe I'm confusing out, but I got Hungary because I saw even the flag of Hungary. This is how they send it to me. That yeah, the case was very much covered by the news. I remember the case. They found the picture in the 80s, the picture of the two kids. They were kidnapped. They did. Listen, I didn't know. I remembered this case vaguely because I remember as a child hearing about this case. But as per usual, I just went on Wikipedia to get sort of updated on what happened. And what I shared with you is what I got from Wikipedia. Although I had never heard of this. Have you ever done the Lindbergh kidnapping? No, it's on my list though. It's on my list. I will do that next. I think that's another fascinating and interesting mystery there as well. Margin, thank you for reminding. Yes, everybody, please help out with the low income people in the Yes, absolutely. I may do some kind of fundraiser as well. Everything's super transparent here. I will try to find like an international um, charity or NGO, one that I trust. Not a huge one because I don't trust like the big ones. No, 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 because our money doesn't go where they're supposed to go. So I will try and find something, do something for Christmas, or maybe you guys can donate. I can have like a separate account. You guys can donate, and then I can help people, or you just go to your local shelters or local charities and donate. Be it money, be it clothes, toys for children, even for pets, even for animals, for homeless people. Really, most people, or unhomed people, I should be politically correct. Most people who are unhomed, they absolutely love their animals, their pets. That's all they have, and they do need some um, treats, food, beds, etc. for their doggies and their pets. Yeah, it's interesting. I know I'm sorry I was like all over the place, but it was so hard for me to connect so hard for me. There are other cases that, boom, I get things instantly. I can even remote view things and really describe what's going on. But this is very, very odd to me because we're talking about 5 children that eventually passed because of this. And I couldn't connect to neither of them except for Martha, who was very shy at first, very shy at first. And then she came through, and then I lost her. I knew I would lose her. This is normally what happens because I'm very persistent. Like if I can feel a soul around me and they're not stepping forward, I will do everything that I can to make them feel to make them feel not confident but comfortable, and for them to step forward. But I know that it doesn't last long. Usually after that, I kind of lose the connection. So yeah. Which one? The case with the 2 kids is Tara Calico. Never heard of that. Is that a different case? Yes, absolutely. Or everyone, you can also volunteer as well, and anything that we can during the holiday season. I don't know. Listen, I didn't hear mafia, but didn't hear mafia. I cannot be 100% sure it was mafia, but it was 2 men wearing hats. They looked Italian, I want to say, but again, it's dark. I cannot see their features clearly. Um, and how some kids ended up in Mexico and another one in Europe? Explain to me that. I mean, no, the mafia, I'm not 100% sure, but they weren't, even if it was mafia. And back then, remember, there was a war. Mussolini, although Mussolini died, I believe in 1942, I believe he was caught and killed. But it's not that. It's that they just wanted to completely send a message, right? They wanted to send a message, and I'm not sure if the point here was to really, unalive them, or was it, but it was, they really wanted to unalive the whole family. They did because they did this at 1 in the morning, Christmas Eve, when they knew the whole family was going to be there. Except I believe one son, Wikipedia says that one son was in the, maybe that's who I'm connecting to. I just remember that it says the older son, who was 20 something, wasn't there because he was serving, he was fighting the war pretty much. Maybe that's the one I was connecting and seeing wearing like military outfit as well. So yeah, I know it doesn't I cannot explain all of it because I just give you what I'm getting. But logic says that they wanted to get rid of the whole family. They knew what they were doing. It was Christmas Eve, 1 o'clock in the morning. They knew they were all going to be asleep. Therefore, they wouldn't be able to react fast enough and run out, even though half the family did. So yeah, it was intentional. 100%, 100%. I stand by that. It was intentional. This wasn't some kind of like electrical issue or an accident or anything of that kind. This was intentional. They really wanted to send a very big message out there. And I believe everything that they did was because they knew that this was going to be covered by the press. People would be talking about this. And this was basically a message to the world, you know? At that time, it was the mafia to move the kids. I don't believe it happened after the thing, but eventually they moved the kids a few years after. This is what I'm getting because the kids were a little bit older than when the fire broke out in their home. They found in June 1989 the picture and parking of Tara Calico. She was tied. Okay. All right. Don't know. I would have to look into that case. I don't know. I don't know if you have any other questions around that. And then I'll try and see what I can get, and maybe we can help find Lily and Jack Sullivan, the two siblings that were missing. So, yeah, I just realized this happened in West Virginia. Yes, it did. Oh, that's where you're from? This had to be so completely planned out step by step. Nothing ever happened in Dublin, and we are going back so far. Yeah. I guess it was planned out. It feels like it as well. And Chiron, yeah, I'm gonna do Chiron next week. Absolutely. Um, all right. Shall we move on to Lily and Jack if you don't have anything else? Interesting though. So there is one surviving uh child from the missing children, but I don't think she's gonna live much longer. It feels like her energy and her health is quite frail. Okay, so let's get to Lily and Chuck Sullivan. I want to share with you. I did a little short edit what I said back in May regarding what I picked up regarding the kids, and this is an update to see, are they still alive? Can I get some more information? What's going on right now? So let me share this with you guys. Well, give me a second. Here we go. Kidnapped. Kidnapped. And what's worse, this wasn't a rando, meaning some sicko that wanted to kidnap. This is someone they know, someone who they trusted, or someone they know, whether it was a neighbor. But I'm seeing abduction. It feels like an abduction. And I can tell you this, Jack, Lily, I'm worried about. Her energy is very, very faint. Jack is stronger. They should start looking, I don't know, somewhere rural. I'm seeing barns, like barn. Rural area. What I'm picking up is some kind of barn that the police should look. They look at. Hold on. Jack is wearing blue, some kind of jean jacket, or it seems like a jean jacket, or like a blue jacket that resembles like a jean jacket. I pick up his energy much stronger than her. I'm afraid that maybe she's not doing well. But they're alive. They're alive. That's all I can tell you. I need to meditate and connect in peace. Like what I'm gonna do is, like, once I get off, I will try to connect to them, because right now it's just I'm on camera and I can kind of like feel the chat's energy. Not kind of, like, I feel your energy in the chat. So I want to do this in peace, and then me Mary, or you know what, I can post whatever I get in the community tab for everyone to see if I get anything more than what I'm getting now. But that's all I can tell you for now. But let me write down their names so I can try again later or tomorrow if I'm not able to. Siblings missing. Oh, Father, I don't know, but definitely it was a male. It's a male figure. I'm getting a male figure, someone they know, someone they somewhat trusted has done this to them. And there's somewhere rules somewhere where it's a barn, but it looks like a derelict, like maybe it's an abandoned barn, some kind. But I do see some animals around, chickens mostly. It seems abandoned or like, just completely neglected. All right, so news, not good. Not good. Lily will be found first, not alive. Okay, so just so you know, I'm about to describe something that can be a little bit disturbing. Okay, I'm not going to get into deep details, but I will just tell you what I was shown. Unfortunately, Lily is no longer with us. And she's wrapped up in blankets, filthy, horrible blankets or fabric, and there's rope around it. So she's wrapped up and it's secured and tied with rope. It's just disturbing to see it because it looks like a supersized like cocoon, the cocoons like or butterflies um transform I mean caterpillars transform into butterflies. It's similar to that, and she'll be found first. But she's no longer with us. She hasn't been with us since August, end of July, August. Kidnapped, yes. What I said there before. Lily Lily's passing was, it feels like an accident. So it wasn't intentional for her to be unalived, but she is not with us. I'm going to connect with Jack as well. I just want to get a little bit more information around Lily. 1 second. Someone's playing. Someone is acting. Let me rephrase that. This man, okay, is playing the biggest role of his life, and he should get an Oscar. This is what I'm getting. I'm seeing two males around the mom that are highly, highly suspicious to me. One is the boyfriend, stepfather or boyfriend. I don't know if they were married, doesn't matter. And the other one is another relative. I heard cousin. Don't know if it's his cousin or her cousin. That's not made clear to me. I heard cousin. Could be his, could be hers. These two men, to me, are highly suspicious. Do not like their energy at all. The cousin now, they're both involved. The plan here is, if anything, if the children are found or if anything goes wrong, according to them, then the fall guy will be the cousin, because it will be very confusing for the authorities to kind of like get all of the evidence and the facts straight. If anyone is watching this and they have access to, or they can talk to the family or the mom or the authorities, please tell them to check out this cousin guy. He normally wears a red hat. He wears it quite often, I see and feel. Red cap. Um, he's got property, or I just heard now it's not his property, someone else's property. He works on that property. He has access to that property. That's where I would start my investigation. Who's the car mechanic or engineer who has a love for cars? One of the two or both, the men. I'm just leaving clues here. I'm just telling you what I'm seeing. These are all big, big clues here. I'm gonna cry again. You know what? As much as I hate doing these when it involves children, because it's so disturbing and so hurtful, I have to do these things, right? I have to do these readings because we need to know the truth and we need to see if we can save them. But they're not going to find Jack alive either. And it's going to take a little bit longer until they do for both children. Someone's very perverted. That's what I'm going to say. Someone's super perverted here. Very sadistic and perverted. And both I want to say, but yes, stepfather evil, cousin more evil. I don't even know if they're related or they call each other cousins because this is what I just got. Maybe they're childhood friends and they call each other cousins because they look sort of alike or they act similar, but cousin is the big clue here. But I don't think they will, not I don't think, I know they will never find those children alive. Jack, I pick his energy up very, very faintly, so I don't know if he recently passed or he's just not doing well. But what I am getting is he's not gonna survive this. It's been too long. It's been too long. If if they were able to hone in and find them like June, July, they would have found both children alive. No, they would have found Jack alive. June, July, I'm getting. Jill, Jill, Lily, Jack and Jill, Lily, pardon me. She passed soon after the abduction. When I mean soon after, a few weeks after. I wish I had better news. Let me see if I get anything else that might help the investigation. Hold on. Red cap. I said jean jacket on that video. Someone loves cars, collect cars, has cars, is a car mechanic because I see cars all around them. Land is not owned by either of them, but they have access to it or they're able to just go there as they please. The mom is why look, okay. I don't know anything about this. Again, I'm going in blind as I did on that previous video. But I don't feel like the mom is doing enough for some reason. I feel she's scared. She's scared. She is afraid of maybe him, the boyfriend slash husband. She's not doing enough, in my opinion. Maybe she's too afraid because she doesn't want him to, for him, she doesn't want her to 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 maybe show him that she's suspecting him because she hopes that he might slip up or something might come up or something, but she's not doing enough for those children. She's not, unfortunately. Oh, did I say this last time? Okay. That's what I'm getting. She's not, yeah. She should do a lot more. If these were my children, oh Lord, I wouldn't sleep. I would I'd be like a crazy fiend out there trying to find them no matter what. Like I wouldn't stop. I wouldn't stop. But yes, unfortunately they do. And these are unfortunately contracts that they've made with the ancestors and their guides and the whole council. These are contracts. They have to, and sometimes I want to say this. For instance, let's take the example Lily and Jack and the stepfather. All right. It's not necessarily it sometimes it's not his contract. So his contract doesn't necessarily say you're going to be an evil man and you're going to harm these children, you're going to unalive them and torture them and do other horrible things to them. Sometimes it is in the children's contract that this is going to happen, and he steps in and he takes on that role. His soul steps in and says, okay, I'm going to be the one doing this. I'm going to take this role. I'm going to be the abusive, kidnapping, unaliving father, stepfather to them, because I need to help them with their contract and for them to reach that next level and that higher level, if that makes sense to you. So I'm not saying he's lesser evil. I'm just saying on a soul level, and when it comes to soul contracts, it's not necessarily that the perpetrator or the one who's the evil or the bad guy is the one who said, that's going to be in my contract. I'm going to unalive people. I'm going to harm women. I'm going to harm children. I'm going to harm animals. Sometimes they take on this role to facilitate and help the other soul fulfill that contract. Will they be arrested? Okay, good question. I should ask. Hold on. The fall guy will, which is the cousin. Well, he's not really the fall guy because they're both in on it. But the cousin, whatever they call the cousin, maybe that's his nickname. They they I can hear him and they call him cousin. Spirit calls him cousin. And I believe it's either a nickname or he is a cousin or they call each other cousin, the stepdad and him. What would this ever be? Because I believe the stepdad is a good. He knows how to act. What would this ever be in someone's contract? This is pure evil. How would this be allowed in humanity? The same way as the mustache guy from 1939 was around, the same as historically, look at all of these evil people, like anyone who's created a genocide. Not, you know who I'm talking about, okay? Because we're not going to switch it to that. We're not going to switch to political discussion, but anyone who, Mussolini, another example, another dictator from the 30s, 20s, and 30s, all of these people have, we need good and bad on this earth. That's why we're here. We need this yin and yang. We need the light and the dark. This is how we grow. This is how we learn. This is how we ascend. This is why we decide to come to earth. So we need people, souls, to take on the evil part, the bad part. Some of them are really low vibrational and they have to do really evil stuff here for them when they go to the spirit world, when they cross over, because that helps them get out of that low vibrational level and start working themselves up. So it is part, that's why we're here. We need the good and the bad. It's always a balance in life. Good, bad, left, right, forward, backwards. It's everything. There's this, it's, I know it's hard, so hard to grasp, especially when something evil happens to someone that you love and care for. It's so hard to grasp that a soul has decided to reincarnate on earth to harm other beings, right? But We need that as a collective. We need it. We need these low vibrational, evil souls and people in order to help us. They're actually doing us a favor on a collective level, not an individual level, on a collective level. And trust me, it's not like they cross over and they're like, yay, back home, party, party. I'm around with my peeps here, my soul pods, my soul family. No. I've said no heaven, no earth. No heaven, no earth. No heaven, no hell. But if you've done evil stuff and you cross over, you don't rejoin and reconnect with your loved ones over there, your ancestors, your soul pod. You are completely isolated for a while. You are isolated. And you've got to do a lot of work in order for you to get out of purgatory, isolation, however you want to call it, and rejoin your pod. That is hell. That is the worst punishment. But some souls choose to reincarnate and continue doing evil things. Some of them will continue doing that because they've taken on that role. They've taken on that. And souls of the light need the low vibrational and the dark souls to help them reach their level, their wherever they want to reach. I have no idea where their biological dad is. I don't think the biological dad was around when like my feeling is like he didn't stick around after she had the children. But I don't know. I don't receive that information. People who did this, I feel, have been severely abused themselves. There's that also. There's that. There's no justification for this, or at least they should be forthright in their actions instead of hiding and being. I mean, there is only a small percentage of criminals and people who do bad things that will step forward and say, okay, I confess I did it. Most of them, and especially as time goes by, they feel that they will get away with it, so they're definitely not going to come forward. Because if you can do this to small children, or defenseless animals, you really are someone who's evil and someone who can't live with your actions. It's very different if you're like drunk driving, you hit someone, you kill someone, there are no cameras, no witnesses, and you go into hiding, but then the guilt eats you up. So a couple of days later, you go to the police and you're like, I'm the one who did this. I can't live with myself. But these types of people, these souls don't have the same, they don't have that. They don't have this moral compass and this understanding that taking someone's life is something evil. They only see it, they don't see it as evil. Look at Bundy, look at all the serial killers. They don't. They get caught and they still stand by what they did because they believe that they did something in their minds. What they did was for the greater good, for their own good, for whatever it was, right? They will excuse themselves for that and they're evil for that, but they can live with themselves. So they're not going to come forward and say, hey, I did it. No. So, and yes, they're hiding because they feel now it's been 6-7 months since they got abducted. Well, they feel that they can get away with it. So life goes on for them. And it's not being cowardly. Why would they risk confessing? Like if they feel that the chances are that they might not get caught, which they will. I'm just saying. Yes and no. Yes and no. In what sense? Contracts. So a soul might still choose to reincarnate and take on the role of the evil person, right? Who does bad things. But if collectively the world has changed and we're vibrating and we're in 5D, or we're vibrating on a much higher frequency, and there's a lot more love going around instead of hatred and discourse as there is now, then what happens is collectively, energetically, spiritually, we can actually prevent from these things from happening. Yes, but it doesn't mean that there are less contracts. The same amount of contracts or same amount of souls might still choose to take this path and do these deeds, right? But if collectively we change the world and the vibration, the overall collective vibration, then we can actually prevent these things from happening, even if they are in their contract. And what will happen is they will start exiting this world. They might start unaliving themselves. Accidents might happen, things might happen, and then they will have to exit and leave this world, go back to the spirit world, and regroup and figure out what they want to do. What have they learned, and where are they in the rankings of the spirit world and the hierarchy of the spirit world? Did the stepdad do this to the kids when he was with the mom in the home? Did she know? I feel the mom suspects. And that's why I feel that she's not doing enough. I feel it's out of fear. Uh, I don't I don't see her witnessing something. She's definitely witnessed in the past, like the way he's treated those children, the way he spoke to those children. Um, but she suspects, but I feel she's also a little bit in denial. You know, the longer it takes for them to find the bodies of those children, the more she's in denial as well, that she might think I believe she might think that they'll be found alive, and he might regret what he did, and the kids will show up at some point and everything will be fine. This is what I'm getting with the mom. But trust me, once they get caught and once the children are found, oh Lord, she's gonna there I see a lot of dramatics, but I don't 100%. I do feel bad for her because she is a mom and these are her children, but to me, you did not protect those children. You did not protect the children. I understand for single moms, it's very hard to find companionship, a partner, someone to share your life with, someone to share the bills with, someone to share responsibility with. But don't it's just to me, I don't understand these women and these moms that will just take on any man just because they love bomb them or they feel a false sense of security, and will have them around their children from day one. You don't know this person. Why is this person around your children in your home? Like, give it some time, give it some time. Make sure that you know this person. Make sure that you know that this person's safe to be around your children. Maybe I'm seeing things warped. I'm just saying, I don't care even if I was single like 10 years, I was desperate to find a man because I need companionship, but I wouldn't bring anyone around my children. I wouldn't bring anyone in my house. Unless I know them very, very, very well and I trust them. But it would take a long, long time. So I just don't understand. So she's at fault because she put those kids in danger. The same goes with any other child, any of these big cases of missing children out there that we know of, that the boyfriend harmed the child, or a friend or boyfriend or a lover or a husband or someone abducted or did something to the children. Unfortunately, the moms are at fault. Yes, I'm harsh, but they are. They are. And if you see even an amber flag, not a red flag, amber flag, that should be enough for you to say, stay away from my children. I agree, but unfortunately, they have to live with this for the rest of their lives and live with the guilt because those children, and I'm talking about Lily and Jack right now, they're not coming back home alive. And she will have to carry this weight, this guilt for the rest of her life. And I agree that some women have their own trauma, but and I agree some people are not educated enough to know that there are resources and free resources out there that they can help them. Um, but there are. We live in 2025. There are resources. There's a ton of things out there online even that can help you. Can help you if you're suffering, if you have trauma, and especially when you have children. The amount of therapy I did when I had my daughter, my firstborn, because all of these things, my mommy issues just like boom, and I was like, I don't want to carry trauma. I don't want to carry trauma. I need to heal my inner wounded child. I do not want to dump my trauma onto my children. So I did a lot of therapy and a lot of work and somatic work as well in order for me to be the best version of myself as a mom for my children. And it is constant work. As you know, if you're moms, you all know what I mean. It's constant. We constantly have to work on ourselves for our children, for ourselves, but for our children. Because I could never have any man around me. Exactly. It's hard. Exactly. You don't know people's intentions. You just don't want, and sometimes the children themselves, children are super intuitive and they pick up on things that we can't, because if we're in love, if we're all like, love bombed and flattered and all that, we might miss some of the flags, the amber and red flags. But the children, let me tell you, some of the children don't want certain men around them for a reason as well. So we have to also listen to our children and what they say. Safe than a man if the father of my kid could hurt us with a stranger more so. Right, exactly. Absolutely. Yes, kids come first. They never asked to be here. We brought them here. Exactly. So it is our role. Our role, you guys, it's to protect our children, not only when they're at home, when they're children, even when they leave the nest and they're adults and they go off and they live their own, we're still responsible for our children on an energetic level. We're still responsible for our children. We're still attached to children, connected to children, responsible to our children. Because anything that we do, even when they turn into adults, anything that we do, subconsciously, children always mimic their parents' behaviors, uh, the mannerisms, the way they react, everything. It's subconscious. And it's not just children, it's even adults. Why? Because we, the parents, are the first, we are the role models. We're the first people they meet, the mom and the dad, first people they are in contact with on earth. Their first human experience and first human connection is with their parents. And that connection never dies. And that connection gets stronger actually as they grow older. And that's why a lot of children, you'll see children sort of behaving the same way as the mom or the dad, or a lot of people say, oh my God, you look just like your parents. Why do they look? Aside from DNA and genetics, it's also like their facial expressions, the way they laugh, the way they talk. So that never dies. That never goes away. So we are constantly, from till the day we die, we are responsible for our children. And they're so connected to our energy that anything that we do will affect them, even if they're like 50, 60 years old and we're like 90, without any teeth, with our gummy smiles. It doesn't matter. they still are connected to us, and they still look up to us, and they still subconsciously mimic and follow our lead. Okay. Wow. This was heavy. I need a good stretch. I need to do some grounding work. I need to do some cleansing. This was really heavy today. But at least I don't know what to say about Lily and Jack. I was hoping for better news, but even back then in May when I did that reading, I knew that we wouldn't find them alive, and that these children suffered, because they did. I'm afraid they did. Horrible. And the Sodder children. I know this is an older case, but that is extremely sad as well. Yeah, it's so sad. Anyways, that's it for today. If you want to book a reading with me, you can head on over to my website. Everything is linked down below. You can also see everything in my banner as well, all the details. If you want to book a reading, I just want to let you know that I'm so booked out. So book soon. Book soon if you want to have a reading in 2026. Also, something else, my prices will go slightly up, not a lot, slightly up. This is because of the how expensive life is, and the bank fees, PayPal fees, all of that. So slightly, but that will they will go up on New Year's Day. So anything that you book now for 2026 will be with my current prices. Of course, what I will do as of next year is, and if I have your email and you're my main mailing list, you will receive emails from me, and I do offer discounts and some special prices and special packages throughout the year. So make sure that you sign up as well, and you'll receive all of this information throughout the year. I do not spam, so don't worry. I will not spam you at all. All right. That's it, everybody. Thank you for being here. Yes, today, this Sunday was a little bit different. It was a little bit heavier, but I really felt like this is, especially with Lily and Jack, was very important for me to do this part 2 and see where we're at, where the children are, and the Sodder children as well. I know this is a mystery, but we love mysteries here, and it's well, on one hand, I feel relieved that these children were not, they didn't burn with a house. It wasn't such the horrific unaliving that we suspected, but still, it's a very sad, sad case and story. All right, everybody, I'll be back next week. Until then, take care. Bye, everybody. Bye.